Hi there, very good day to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Today, the topic is about the measurement of continuous improvement when you improve yourself, your delivery, your education continuously. Okay, so how it works and what happens. Now, we were talking about the continuous improvement, how you can improve your delivery, right? You get better day by day. How you can get yourself improved to assess students day by day. There are methods, there are ways that we improve and we get better. Right. So you may get some factors or something to improve yourself, fine, but always you have to see the result of it. Okay. To see the result, you need to have some measurements. For example, a simple example is this. Let's say if you want to reduce some weight of your body, if you want to reduce the weight of your body, you may do some exercise. So exercise, you may do exercise, and that will improve your body shape, that will improve your body weight. Okay, so you go for some walk, you go for some exercise, you go for some gym or whatever, then you reduce your weight. Okay, so you do this to improve your body shape. Now, to improve, when you do this exercise, you should measure whether the body is getting in shape, whether the person is losing weight. So what you do, you go onto the weighing machine and check your weight. That is the measurement. So how many kilos yesterday, how many kilos last week, and how many kilos next week. So when you measure this, you can understand my exercise is working. That is the measurement. Okay, to measure things, we have different things as I told before. To measure temperature, we have kilometers. In fact, we have Celsius, Fahrenheit, Kelvin. We have different measurements. To measure distance, we have kilometers, meters, miles, and so on. These are measurements. Right? So now in education, when you do these uh, improvement, continuous improvement, you have to measure it. Otherwise, you don't know if your improvements are positively working. We should make sure the improvements are working. So we should definitely have some measurements. Okay, what are the measurements? That is what it is. And I have given some idea here, but you can select anything that you want. Okay, that is up to you in your assignment. You can bring in different things, not a problem. Okay, right now if you want to measure the improvement of your teaching, you can check the marks of your students, standardized test score. You can check the marks. Are they getting higher marks? Track the trend in students' performance. Okay, so we can see uh, if the student is getting more score. If the student is getting more score, then we can say, okay, we are the improvement that we do is getting result. That's the measurement. So you can measure the improvement of you tracking the students' marks. Okay, right. Classroom assessments. When you do classroom assessment, you can have a look at it as well. Okay, what are they? Monitoring formative and summative assessments to evaluate students' learning process. Okay, their progresses. Right now, we do formative assessments. We know what formative is about. We know what summative is about. What is formative? Formative assessment is about when you're teaching, you ask questions and find out if they are understanding it. That is formative. Summative means when you complete your teaching, you give them a test or an exam and find out the marks of them to study whether they have learned it or not. To give you a clear example of it, formative assessment is this. Your teacher teaches something in the class and he gives some exercise in the classroom homework and you do the homework. So he can test whether the student is learning or not. The summative is about at the end of the term, at the end of the year, they give you the final exams, you write the answers, and they find out if the marks is they find out the marks and they find out whether the teaching is working or not. That is summative. So we can use formative assessments and summative assessments to see the result of your improvement. When you improve your teaching, you can do some formative assessments and see if the improvement is working. You can do some summative assessments and see if the teaching is working. That is another measurement. And another measurement is about the graduation rate or dropout rate. What is graduation? Graduation means complete. You study a course and you complete the course. That is graduation. Dropout means you start a course and you leave your course halfway down. In the middle, you leave it, dropping out from your course. So now, if you have 100 students, if the graduation rate is 80%, 80% means 80 of them are graduating. It is good. Dropout is 20. And if you do some improvement in your teaching, continuous improvement, if you can bring this graduation rate to 85 and dropout rate to 15, to bring it down to 15, we can say your improvement is working. So that is again another criterion, another KPI, another measurement. So we have learned three measurements in here. What are they? Test score, okay, the marks of your exams, your formative assessments, summative assessments, graduation rate, and dropout rates. Okay, these are all factors that we can learn. And teachers evaluation, we can do the teachers evaluation. Okay, how do they teach? So we can use classroom observations. When a teacher teaches, uh, you can observe the way he or she teaches. We can do some peer review. What is the peer review? When a teacher teaches, another teacher sits next to him, next to her in the classroom, and observe what's going on. Okay, so this is again another criterion, another measurement to measure if the continuous development is happening. Okay, and another measurement would be the participation of professional development. Are these teachers participating in professional development programs? That is again another criterion that we can use. Okay, and again another measurement or criterion: student engagement and feedback. You can ask a student if the teacher is teaching better, if the teacher is getting better. Okay, that is again another criterion. So these are all criterions that we can use to uh, measure the continuous improvement of your teaching, your learning, your delivery of your course. Okay, right. Now the next one is about the student and teacher attendance rate. Okay, this is again another stuff. If you're improving your teaching continuously, student and teacher attendance rate is another factor, another measurement that we can use. Are these students attending the classes without any absent? If the attendance is increasing, improving, we can say your way of method of teaching is working. Okay, the teachers are presently, if the teachers are not calling sick or not making absenteeism, it is again another stuff. Okay, so these are all factors. There are so many. You may use about 5 of them to write your things. The next, I'm skipping certain things. It is not necessary for you. That's why. And the third thing, another measurement is about the resource utilization. Now, every university, every college, every school has resources. You may have computer labs. You may have science labs. Okay, in some schools, your science lab has been never used. I remember the school I studied. I went to. There was a big science lab with all the materials. Most of these experimenting stuffs were there. But I've never been to a lab to see what's happening in science. Okay, so they don't get use of it. There is money allocated for certain experiments, certain school trips, educational tours. They're not used. Okay, so this is again another measurement, another criterion, another KPI that we can use to measure the continuous the continuous development, continuous improvement. Technology integration is another factor. Technology, you have lots of technology. If you don't get use of it, or if you get use of it, the way you get use of it, how much you get use of it, depends on how you improve. So we can measure the technology integration, the technology usage, and based on that, we can say if these improvements are happening or not. Okay, so those are the key things, right? Now, let me summarize what I said. If you have some blood pressure, you have to monitor that. You have to bring it down. Okay, right. If you have high blood pressure, you have to bring it down. To do this, to bring this down, you may have to take some tablets, or you may have to go for some walk. You may have to do some food discipline. Okay, So these are all stuffs that you do. You take some tablets, you go for walk, you cut your food and so on, oily foods and stuff. So that happens. When that happens, if you cut your food, if you take some tablets, if you go for some exercise, that's fine. But doing all these three, taking some exercise, taking some medicine, doing some exercise, cutting some food, all are three improvements that you do to bring your blood sugar down. Sorry, the blood pressure down. So doing all these three is not enough. It is just an action, just an improvement idea. But to make sure all these three actions are result oriented, it is giving result, it is giving you the advantage, you should definitely check your blood sugar and see. You go for some exercise, check your blood sugar. If the blood sugar goes down, you can say, yes, exercise is bringing my blood sugar, so let me do some more exercise. If your blood sugar comes down when you cut some oily food, if you check your blood sugar, if it's going down, you can say, yes, the oily food I cut is improving my blood pressure, so let me cut more, let me replace my oily food to some of the different things. That is your way to understand all these actions are working. So to check these actions, whether they are working or not, you have to measure the blood pressure. Measuring the blood pressure is the measurement. That is the KPI, key performance indicator. That is the result. The same way, we are talking about continuous improvement in education, teaching, delivery, students learning, and those kind of area. So we take lots of measurements. We integrate technology. We use resources. We bring in new ideas, we bring in new materials, we bring in new contents, we can do many things. Doing all of these things would not make sure that the improvement you wanted is happening. So what you do after you do all of these things, you have to find out some measurements and you have to measure the result. If the result is favorable the way you want it, you can say, yes, this is happening. You can say, this is working, this is improving. The same way, in your answer, you have to write some uh, continuous improvement ideas and how you're going to measure them. There are so many. I have brought in few. You can write so many other as well. That's up to you. Okay, so that is it for 2.3. Now, finally, the 2.4. This is already done. Let me explain. Evaluate models and theories of quality management in education delivery. Okay. We have learned two quality management theories in the past, last week, I think. Let me show you. We talked about total quality management in education. That's one. And we talked about the other theory, which is we talked about naming cycle known as PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. We have learned these two models to improve education. Now, your fourth question is 2.4 is the question is this. You have to evaluate those two models. There are so many other models. You can evaluate them as well. You can, if you can do these two models, that's fine. Evaluate the models and theories of quality management in education delivery. Okay, so the theories, education delivery and learning as well. What are the models? Name cycle or TQ, total quality management. Those two, if you can get use of them, and you can say what model works better than the other, and what is the advantage of this model than the other, what is the advantage of this model than the other one. Okay, that's what it is. No model, you cannot say Diamond cycle is the best model than total quality management. You cannot say total quality management is the best model than diamond cycle, because both of these models have its positivity and the negativity, advantages and disadvantages. So what you do, you talk about both of them. This is the model, and this model is good for this context, whereas that model is not that good. However, the other model is good for this context, whereas the other model is not good. This is what evaluation is about. Okay, so when you want to reduce some weight, exercise, cutting food. Exercise, you cannot say exercise is the best than cutting food. So you say eat anything but do exercise. It's not right. And cut everything. Don't eat anything, but you don't need to do exercise. That's again not right. So what you do? If you do exercise, you have some benefit. If you do food, you have some benefit. So the plus and the minus of it. Okay, that is evaluation. So take these two models and evaluate those two models. Compare, evaluate those two models. Which model works better for the context? That is the 2.4. Okay, so that is it. Then you will be completing your second task, second question of your subject, and the third question that. Thank you very much for joining us. I see you later.